This month, in the build-up to my 3-year anniversary here on YouTube, I've been revisiting some early episodes of this channel. But while I'm already doing some time hopping, I figure why not go back further than just 3 years? Why not go to a year that both the Smashing Pumpkins and the Wu-Tang Clan can agree on? Why not go back to 1979? Now, in case you were wondering, what's up with the Intercontinental title? Well, it's because it was in this year, 1979, that this championship first debuted as the top prize of a fictional tournament. And it was in a previous episode where I explored the possibility of what if this non-existent tournament really took place. But as I said way back when, there is more than one way to book a tournament that never was, which is the exact topic of this episode. Because today, Dave knows what if the 1979 Intercontinental title tournament really happened. Okay, so to change things up from last time, this will feature 10 brand new wrestlers competing in our hypothetical event. And just like last time, we're going for that intercontinental feel by choosing wrestlers who are built from being all around the globe. Oh, and another departure from the past iteration is that last time we were using a bracketed style system. Today we're going New Japan G1 style with a round robin tournament. 10 international wrestlers facing each other over 10 days. Each wrestler will receive 2 points for a win, 1 point for a tie, and no points for a loss. And in the end, the wrestler with the most points will become the inaugural Intercontinental Champion. Oh, and lastly, unlike last time, today I'll be giving you an actual winner. But how do we go about calculating these matches? Well, fortunately, history has already done a lot of the work for us. Now, this won't be 100% accurate since, obviously enough, this tournament didn't really happen. So in which case, I've taken the liberty of tallying up the results of each of these wrestlers' last 10 matches leading up to the day, September 1st, 1979, the official day when the Intercontinental title debuted. I totaled up their wins, their losses, and everything else to determine a winner. And so, without further ado, let's meet the competitors. Starting us off in 10th place with a score of 7 points, representing the country of Australia, we have Bill Dundee. Standing at 5 foot 7 inches tall and weighing in at 215 pounds, Bill Dundee is a fierce competitor to be sure. Now, despite being raised in Melbourne, Dundee was actually born in Scotland. He started off as a trapeze artist at the age of 16 before becoming a wrestler in 1962. Billed as superstar Bill Dundee upon arriving in the United States 5 years prior to this tournament, Dundee would go on to have a memorable feud as well as a partnership with Jerry Lawler. He also had a solid team up with the other nature boy, Buddy Landel. And when all was said and done, Dundee would have a plethora of singles and tag team gold in a slew of promotions, such as the AWA Southern Heavyweight Championship, the NWA Mid-America Heavyweight title, and the Ohio Valley Wrestling Heavyweight Championship, among many, many others. Next up in 9th place we have the original Sheik, or just the Sheik as he was known at the time. Billed from the Syrian desert, the Sheik stood at 5 feet 11 inches tall and weighed in at 242 pounds. After serving in the US Army, the Sheik would cut his teeth in the Chicago area before wrestling in Texas and other areas, eventually working for Vince McMahon Sr. And while he feuded with the likes of Bobo Brazil and Bruno Sammartino, the match that really got him mainstream attention was the one that never really took place. Early in his career, he was set to face Lou Thesz for the NWA World Heavyweight Championship, but since Thesz was known for embarrassing gimmick wrestlers, the Sheik decided instead to hide under a bus. But as it turns out, surprisingly, this decision worked to elevate his status in the industry. Now, even though that title match never happened, he would go on to win plenty of other titles. And most prevalent for today would probably be his 2 WWF United States Championship reigns. And following the Sheik, we have a 3-way tie with the next 3 wrestlers all scoring 10 points. So in no particular order, let's move on to Masa Saito, also known as Mr. Saito. At 5 feet 11 inches tall and 265 pounds, Saito started off competing in legitimate freestyle wrestling in the Olympics for Japan. He then went on to the NWA, winning a slew of championships and teaming with several other big stars at the time. He had a brief stint in the WWF before going to the AWA in 1983, but during his time, he did win the WWF World Tag Team titles twice with Mr. Fuji, and then in the American Wrestling Association, Saito would go on to win the AWA World Heavyweight Championship. Also scoring 10 points representing the United States, we have Stan Hansen. towering over much of the competition at 6 foot 4 inches tall and weighing in at 321 pounds. Hansen started off dividing his time between playing football for the Detroit Wheels and being a professional wrestler. After making the switch to wrestling full-time, he would begin working for Vince McMahon in 1976, but only for a brief amount of time in order to feud with Bruno Sammartino. But he would eventually return to the company, and he would pick up right where he left off, feuding with Bruno as well as making a few new feuds along the way. But in addition to this, one of Stan's biggest contributions to the industry would have to be his involvement with All Japan Pro Wrestling. After going to New Japan for a bit, Hansen would find himself as part of the AJPW for the better part of 20 years. He was treated as a big-name star, even managing to be the first person ever to pin both Antonio Inoki and Giant Baba in championship singles matches, which is a pretty amazing accomplishment, even though it's really not all that surprising since Stan Hansen is one bad mother.
Shut your mouth!
I'm just talking about Stan.
Then we can dig it.
I guess I couldn't celebrate an anniversary without the head voices showing up at least once. Next is the Russian Bear, Ivan Koloff. Standing at 6'1" and weighing in at an impressive 298 pounds, Koloff was billed as being from both the Ukraine and Moscow, Russia, even though he was really from Canada. Growing up in Ontario, Canada with his 3 sisters as well as his 6 brothers who he would also wrestle with ever since he was a kid, Koloff was a professional wrestling fan ever since he was 8 years old. He would eventually leave high school in order to pursue a professional wrestling career, training in Jack Wentworth's wrestling school. Now originally, he portrayed the character Red McNulty, who was billed as being from Dublin, Ireland before eventually visiting Japan and then being repackaged as Ivan Koloff. Now Koloff would win titles in a variety of companies, but his biggest claim to fame would be ending Bruno Sammartino's 2,803-day reign, becoming the 3rd ever WWF World Heavyweight Champion, even though he only held that belt for a mere 21 days. And following Koloff in the number 5 spot is the man who ended his title reign, Pedro Morales. Standing at 5 feet 10 inches tall and weighing in at 235 pounds, Morales has done quite a bit in the World Wrestling Federation. Not only did he go on to win the WWF Intercontinental title twice for real, but he was also the first ever member of the Triple Crown Club, having also won Tag Team Gold with Bob Backlund. He also won the WWF United States title, as well as also having an outstanding championship reign lasting over 1,000 days after defeating Koloff as the WWF champion. Up next with a score of 13 points is an extremely popular wrestler of the 1970s, Chief Jay Strongbow. Standing at 6 feet tall and weighing in at 250 pounds, the Chief first made his mark in the National Wrestling Alliance's Florida and Georgia territories. But in the 1970s, Chief Jay would join the World Wrestling Federation, where he would receive his famous gimmick as well as almost winning the WWF World Heavyweight Championship. And also, the Chief would get to feud against the Captain, as Strongbow would defeat Captain Lou Albano in a match after Lou viciously attacked Jay with a cast during a match. This was allegedly in retaliation as Captain Lou claimed that the Chief broke his arm in the locker room. Now Jay would mostly win Tag Team Gold in the House of McMahon, winning Tag Team Championships with Sonny King, Billy White Wolf, and twice winning it with his kayfabe brother, Jules Strongbow. And in our 3rd place spot, hailing from Manchester, England, standing at 5 feet 11 inches tall and weighing in at 240 pounds, we have Billy Robinson. Starting off as an amateur wrestler, Robinson would become an international star, even appearing as a major character in the film The Wrestler. Not the Mickey Rourke one. On top of that, Robinson is also a professional writer, having written the book Physical Chess: My Life in Catch-as-Catch-Can Wrestling. He would also become a renowned trainer with students such as Marty Jones and Johnny Saint, as well as becoming a star in Japan, where he was billed as one of the top 2 technicians in the entire world alongside Antonio Inoki. And having trained in the legendary Snake Pit, as well as being just about as respected for shoot fighting as he was for pro wrestling, Robinson scores a booming 16 points in this tournament. But as incredible as 16 points are, they're not enough to crack the top 2 spots on this list. As next we have Tito Santana. Being billed from Mexico, this Texas native started off playing football for West Texas University before signing to the Kansas City Chiefs. But even though he didn't make it as a pro football player, he would succeed as a professional wrestler, debuting in 1976. He would join the World Wrestling Federation in 1979 before going to the AWA the following year. But he would return to the WWF in 1982, where he would go on to win the Intercontinental title twice, as well as being a 2-time winner of the WWF Tag Team titles too, once with Ivan Putski and once with Rick Martel as the team Strikeforce. Now Tito would rack up 18 points in our tournament here today, scoring 9 wins and only 1 loss. But as is common in New Japan round robin tournaments, for first place, we have a tie. because also scoring an identical record to Tito Santana is our final participant, Ricky Steamboat. Weighing in at 235 pounds and standing at 5 feet 10 inches tall, Ricky debuted for the AWA and then moved to Championship Wrestling from Florida before going to Jim Crockett Promotions and then to the WWF. Now, he would bounce around between companies throughout his career, but no matter where he was, he would be known for putting on excellent matches, being in 2 separate bouts that are widely considered to be the 2 greatest matches of all time by many, with his matches against Randy Savage and Ric Flair, both of which he would win titles from, capturing the actual IC Championship off of Randy Savage at WrestleMania 3 and winning the NWA World Heavyweight Championship from Ric Flair at the Chi-Town Rumble. But with all that being said, we're not done yet, because remember, I did promise you a winner. And in the event of a tie for first place in a round-robin style tournament, we have to have a tiebreaker. So since we've exhausted the 10 matches before the September 1st, 1979 date, to advance, we just need to look forward. And for these 2 men, the next loss for one of them would happen on September 13th, which means that our winner and the first ever WWF Intercontinental Champion in our hypothetical tournament is Tito Santana. Which is pretty fitting since Tito was working in WWF in real life at the time, while Ricky on the other hand was at Jim Crockett Promotions. Furthermore, it is fitting that Ricky would get the runner-out spot, because during the real September 1st, 1979 date, Ricky was really wrestling in a tournament, which he did make it to the finals, only to fall short and end up with 2nd place. But enough of this groovy trip to the past for now. Let's finally go back to the present. Well, there you go. Tito Santana, the winner of the first ever Intercontinental Fictional Title Tournament. But who do you like in this contest? Let me know down in the comments. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe right here to Dave Knows Wrestling. Thanks so much for watching, and as always, Dave Knows.